Yo, Winning Shot family, what's going on, man? It's John and it's Collin, man. We are here back with another episode of the Winning Shot podcast. This week, we got NFL Week 2 recap, as well as a preview of the upcoming Week 3. Before we get into that action, brother, how are you this week, man? Any new news? I know you've been doing a lot of handyman work. Called this man Bob the Builder. Man, anything new going on in your life?
Man, I have spent so much money between Lowe's and Home Depot, it don't even make sense. Like, as soon as you buy a house, stuff starts happening, and
Yeah.
you can't call maintenance anymore.
No. Oh my gosh. You are maintenance. Oh my gosh.
How's the move in there for you?
Bro, it's been super smooth, bro. Just finished out everything with the apartment yesterday. So I'm officially in the house now. Unpacking, as you can imagine, but also getting things together, like you said, brother. I was like, oh, I gotta fix this and I gotta do this. Oh my gosh, bro. It's a learning process, but I honestly I love it, bro. I went to my apartment yesterday to like clean stuff out and close everything out, and I heard my upstairs neighbor like stomping around. I was like, I don't miss that at all. Oh my gosh. I come in the house and it's peace and quiet. I love it. It's the best thing ever.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, just the fact that you get to just do whatever you want to your house.
Bro,
Like,
whatever.
I've never experienced that before.
Nah, for real. I'm telling you, I was like, I don't have to ask somebody to do nothing. I was like, I can put this TV up, I can put 10 holes in the wall, nobody gonna care but me.
10 TVs.
No, facts. Oh man, I'm telling you, it's a good feeling. Listen, if y'all don't own a home right now and you aspiring to own a home, please, we might do something on the side. Inside the Winning Shot, but still, we'll talk about that offline. Let's get into this content, man. So listen, it was a busy week too, so I'm gonna start here because we got to talk about it. Because Hundo was adamant. He not here to defend himself, but I know what he would say. So the Colts and the Broncos played, and if y'all heard us on the last podcast, these boys are going back and forth about who's gonna win the game. It came down to the end of it, and the Colts won by, I'm pretty sure it was a field goal, a walk-off field goal for the win, if I'm not mistaken. So the Colts won the game 29-28. Colin, how'd you feel after seeing that victory?
We are on that Broncos pack all week. I had Hundo. He has been negligent, and I told y'all what was going to happen. Everything I thought was going to happen, happened. And I got to say this. Daniel Jones, he looks like he almost is resurrecting his career in Indianapolis. And we talked about it before the season. Like, this kind of offense fits Daniel Jones. He's not asked to do much. He has safety options and Tyler Warren, and he has Jonathan Taylor in the check down. And Alec Pierce, he played a good game. And so we got threats on the outside now. We still looking for an emergence of a wide receiver one. But it was a tough battle. I definitely give kudos to Sean Payton and that team because it was that defense was flying. But Daniel Jones, I believe he had 319 and 2 touchdowns, I believe. I never expected this, but it's clear why Daniel Jones is a starter. So if he can just be confident, Colts definitely a playoff team. Bro,
what's crazy is for the first time in my life, I actually believe what you're saying. Bro, I actually believe that the Colts can make the playoffs in this division this year. Like, before the season, I was like, yeah, nah, this man's lost his mind. He's just being a biased Colts fan. But honestly, through 2 weeks, look at the rest of your division. I've seen the Jags play, seen the Texans play, and who else in your division?
So we got the Texans, the Titans, and the Jags.
Oh, well, the Titans were never going to make it this year. So, man, I mean, y'all are clearly the favorite right now to win y'all division at 2-0. They didn't give this man Daniel Jones a new nickname. They just call him Danny Dimes. They call him Indiana Jones. I said, oh my gosh. Through 2 games, this man got a new nickname, changed the city around. That is crazy. Yeah. But like you said, I mean, we talked about this. He fits the aesthetic of Indy as a person and as a player. I mean, so I mean, it really speaks to, you know, like you said, can he resurrect his career? Now, some people are wondering how long is it going to be sustainable? You know, am I inquiring minds? Not necessarily, but you know, we're gonna see. I mean, I think y'all should win this Sunday in Tennessee. The Titans suck. So y'all should go 3-0 to start the season off. I mean, it is a division opponent, so I'm not gonna count them out completely. But I would say y'all win. I'm going to give you that quick preview now. I think that should be the case for y'all. Another game, man, outside of that, that I thought was really interesting this week was we went back and I looked at some of that Dolphins and Patriots game, right? Another divisional matchup that we knew the Dolphins came out terribly against y'all in week 1. And we were like, oof. I mean, against the Patriots, once again, the division opponent, but someone who you think that they would be better than, right? You know, come out and get that win, especially at home in front of your hometown fans. Well, ladies and gentlemen, was not the case at all. The Miami Dolphins lost again to the New England Patriots, 33-27. And after the game, there's a lot of discourse about, you know, what in the heck is going on down in Miami? Like, you know, we know that there's been struggles in the playoffs because of cold weather and they haven't been able to get a home playoff game. But even in the regular season, they seem to have been someone that you'd had to at least, you know, watch out for. But in recent years, man, it's been bad. And coming into this year, it's now starting off the season 0-2. They let Drake May go for 19 for 23 for 230 yards, 2 touchdowns. And he ran for another. He had 3 total touchdowns as well. I mean, they just couldn't get any stops anywhere. Tua went, you know, he had a good game, 26 for 32, 315 yards, 2 touchdowns on a pick. Waddle had a touchdown, Devon Achane had a touchdown, and Tyreek Hill went for 6 catches for 109 yards. So, Collin, talk to me. What is the problem in Miami? Why can they not get it together? Can they flip it around at 0-2 in that division? They got the Bills upcoming this week, but can they? And that's another divisional matchup for them. But can they flip it around? Do you think or is it too late?
Yeah, it's too late. I saw a report a couple of days ago, and they said that the Dolphins were holding a players-only meeting. If you have to hold a players-only meeting in week 2, just wrap it up. It's over. And I think, like I told your boys before, like it's a culture problem. Them boys are dysfunctional. I think like it was cute when they scored 70 on the Broncos, but they have no defense, and now their roster is depleting. And they traded for Minka, expecting them to just change the culture, but you can't just trade for players. Like your culture is your culture, and it's set by the coach, GM, whatnot. And I just don't think them boys tough at all. And they spent money on the outside. They have no offensive line or defensive line, and that's what's really hurting them. The game is won in the trenches. And I think this week is a do or die week. You know, teams that go 0-3 think rarely make the playoffs, and you know that's a tough task with the Bills because I think the Bills have a great roster, and it's just one of those things that they can easily spiral. And so I think it's kind of time to just clear house. Like even with Tua, like that comment Tua made about Josh Allen being better than him. How are you going to expect me to fight for you?
A grown man.
My quarterback's not even confident in himself. So nah, it's over.
Yeah, I agree, bro. I've been saying it for years. Honestly, the Dolphins are great on paper, right? You got Tyreek Hill, you got Jalen Waddle, you had the running back room, and at one time you had a good defense when Ramsey was there. And you had, you know what I'm saying, on defense on paper, you had a great team. They never were able to pull it together ever in the regular season or the playoffs. Like I think there was one time I think in the past 3 years the Ravens like lost to the Dolphins, and other than that, the Dolphins been sweet to us. It's been light work. And so I just like, dang, like it's crazy to see because of all the weapons that they have, right? And so, like you said, bro, it's just not good right now. So I don't know what's gonna have to happen. I think some trades gonna have to. I don't know if it's time to clear house. I don't know if it's time to blow it up. But something has to change and quickly, because like you said, when Tua made that comment that I'm not half as the man as he is, I said, not my quarterback. The leader of my team talking like this right before we play them, bro. Yeah, y'all about to hang 60 on our head. It's crazy. If my quarterback doesn't believe, we're cooked. We're cooked. Yeah. I can't have my quarterback saying those kind of things, and I just paid him all that money.
Exactly.
He just got a new contract. No, bro, you can't be talking like that ever. Even if you think it in your mind, don't say it out loud. You're crazy.
Say that when y'all retire. Don't ever say that.
Bro. Don't ever say it right now in your prime. Right. This man like 26, talking like 27, talking like this. What the heck is going on in the world? Man, we got to stop it. We got to have some confidence in ourselves, man. I don't know what's going on out here for real. But you talked about this. You said, teams who go 0-3 rarely make the playoffs. Let's talk about another team that's 0-2. Surprisingly, right now in the AFC runner-up, Well, AFC defender right now, champion, the Kansas City Chiefs, who lost again this past weekend at home to the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah.
That makes the Chiefs 0-2. Now, talk to me, because like we just talked about Miami being 0-2. Talk to me about the stark differences, if there are any, of the Chiefs being 0-2. Can they turn it around as an 0-2 team with their next matchup being the New York Giants in New York? And not is it too late, but in regards of AFC West, because they've already lost the divisional game to the Chargers, how are they looking at division, right? When it comes to, they've won the division for the past decade. Is that trend over? What goes through your mind now the Chiefs are 0-2? I know you're a big Andy Reid advocate, so let me hear what you got to say here.
Yeah, I think ironically, the same thing I said about Miami, I'm saying about the Chiefs, but just the flip. Like their defense is still stout. Like their defense is holding them in games, but their offense is lacking. And there's just no excitement on their offense. Like I think when you look at like Kyle Shanahan and you got Brock Purdy going down, George Kittle going down, their offense is still dynamic. So it shows you that it's not just the players, it's also the schemes and making sure you get people open. When I'm looking at the Chiefs, I just don't see the same thing. I'm thinking too much like Patrick and Travis reliant, and then everybody just fall in line. And somebody has to emerge. Like we thought it was going to be Pacheco, but they need another running back, so like a 3-down back, like not just a specialty back. And then on the outside, you get another injury with Xavier Worthy. You have the suspension with Rashee Rice. And people are hoping that, when the Chiefs get healthy, we can make a run. But with this division, man, you can drop some games, and by the time he gets back, you can be out the playoffs. So I just think that the Chiefs that we were expecting, 5 years ago with Tyreek Hill and how dynamic it was, we're just not going to see that unless the GM, gets better players. And Andy Reid, he has to open up the offense. And I guess he's just worried because he don't have any weapons. But I watched in the Super Bowl them draw Sky Moore open multiple times. Yeah. I'm like, where's that kind of creativity this year? And I just don't see it. So, and maybe it's just the Eagles, but I don't know. And even with the Giants game, we'll talk about the preview like later on in this episode. Like, don't think it's just gonna be a slouch because them boys desperate and their D line is actually kind of nice. So just watch out.
Yeah. I agree, bro. And I'm speaking from the standpoint of being, I'm not necessarily a Chiefs hater, but I've always had the mindset that I told you this last year. I said they had so many close wins last year. I'm like, bro, their luck has to run out eventually. And yes, they made it to the Super Bowl last year again, right? The Chiefs, as you call it, the Chiefs Invitational. I think that time, bro, I think it's over. I truly think it's over, bro. Like, I think not that they got the Chiefs figured out, but it's like, okay, y'all been doing this for so long and haven't really been switching it up. I mean, yes, y'all switch it up, game to game, but like we know the overall kind of gist of things. I think teams are like just they're not fearful of playing the Chiefs anymore as they once were, right? I was watching the Cowboys doc, and at one point, people just got unfearful of playing the Cowboys. I think that kind of same trajectory is kind of falling on the Chiefs now. Like people are not afraid to play the Chiefs anymore. Like even in their own division, I think even I saw a stat yesterday. It's like even their division got better, right? Even the sorriest team in the Raiders in their division has gotten better to a point where it's like we don't really fear the Chiefs. Yeah, y'all might beat us, but like it's not gonna be a blowout no more. It's not gonna be crazy, right? And the Chargers have already shown y'all beating y'all the first game of the season that it's not sweet no more. Like and I think the Broncos will also have something to say when they play them as well. I think like you said, I think it's long been a thing of we got speed everywhere. They don't have that right now. Rashee is out and Worthy's out for at least another month. I think both of them, if I'm not mistaken. And that's 4 weeks of games. That can be detrimental to your season. You know what I'm saying? Not having that. And one of those games I know for sure is Baltimore. We play them week after this in week 4. So, it's like, okay, and they play the Lions in the next month as well. So it's like, woof, y'all got some games. Y'all like, how y'all gonna show up? You know what I'm saying? And like you just mentioned, maybe we get into that week 3 preview a little bit later on. But man, the Giants ain't sweet. Well, I just saw them take Dallas to the wire in Dallas. You know what I'm saying? And it lost an overtime thriller that we'll get into in a little bit. But man, I don't know what happens to the Chiefs. Are they going to be a wild card team for the first time in a long time? Now, once again, they're a wild card team last year. No, they won the 1 seed last year, right? Yeah, they won a seed last year. They didn't win a seed last year.
Chargers with a wild card and went to
That's true. That was Texans. Yeah, you're right. So Chiefs did win the one seed last year. That's not happening this year. I'm gonna guarantee you the Chiefs will not be the one seed this year. Do they play the Bills? They play us and the Bills. I'm pretty sure this season.
Yep.
Nah, I don't think they'll be the one seed this year. And low key, bro, Chargers not winning that division this year. I mean, the Chiefs not winning that division this year.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think they win the division this year.
Where do you stand on the tush push?
I've been an advocate of it, bro. I mean, my thing is this: if you can't stop it, whose fault is that? It's not. It's nobody's fault besides the defense's fault. Somebody got to create something to counteract that play, and no one has been able to do it so far. Nobody, So I mean, I think people are mad because they just can't stop it. I think that's the only reason people were trying to like vote it out this past offseason. So like, I don't have an issue with the tush push. I think if you're so whatever with it, just add it to your OC, add a variation into it for your team. I mean, like it's for me, it's simple. If you can't beat them, join them. You know what I'm saying? Like, or get them into a position where they can't do it. Like, I think another thing is this. I mean, stop letting them get the 4th and 1. Stop letting them get the 4th and goal. Like, my thing is, okay, be better beforehand. You have to worry about those kind of things. Because if you want 3rd and 10, you can't do a tush push. I mean, so somebody's got to take some blame here and take some responsibility and accountability. You know what I'm saying? So I'm cool with the tush push. They all grown men. This ain't little league. You know what I'm saying? Like, they are willingly doing this play on offense and defense. Y'all just have to willingly try to stop it. And if y'all can't, then so be it.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I think it's a strategic play, and they figured out a loophole in the playbook. I mean, in the rule book. But my thing is, my only gripe with it, I watched a couple of 4th and 1s with the Chiefs-Eagles game, and I'm just confused. Like, how do you really spot the ball? Because like, and how do you know when forward progress stops? Because in that pile, if forward progress stops, Jalen could easily scoot a couple of inches and get the first down. I'm just confused about that part. I think the refs, obviously human error, but I think some of it looks like, oh, the Chiefs stopped them, and then a second effort, it happens, and now he gets the first down. But I'm like, it looked like forward progress to stop. But that's my only right with it. But yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah. Like I said, I think that for me, that goes back to the point of, at that point, you really can't do nothing. Like, you can't really tell in a pile. You don't know what's going on down there. Somebody be handing the ball, moving to like pushing them. You really would never know. Because it's just a pile of people. So you really can't tell. So to avoid all of that, stop them from doing it in the first place. That's my only thing. I know that's easier said than done because Philly's a good team. But like, hey, figure it out, y'all. Figure it out. We'll talk about a couple of playoff teams. We'll talk about this one quick major injury. So the Cincinnati Bengals, my division rival, have lost Joe Burrow. We have just found out he has a grade 3, I believe it is, a turf toe injury. He will be out until December. For me personally, I think that effectively ends the Bengals season. They're currently 2-0. Don't get me wrong, they're undefeated right now. But with no Joe Burrow for the next 3 months, that's like 12 games. 2 of those games include Baltimore. Nah, I think their season is effectively over. That's just me speaking. I'm gonna leave it quickly to you, and then we can move on from there.
Yeah, this is weird. I feel like the Bengals can't win for losing. Like when we were talking earlier in the season, I was against paying T and Jamar because I felt like that was less money that you were able to build out your roster. And we'll see. I think we're gonna see the Bengals roster exposed in these next couple of weeks because Jake Browning can only do so much. And I just feel like the Bengals, this is the same old. Like in that play, it didn't look like it was the offensive line's fault, but good teams and good organizations, they have such a good roster, like San Francisco, that injuries aren't the end all be all. And I feel like we're in the same story every year. I feel like the Ravens have one of the luckiest divisions in the NFL because once again, dysfunction from every team in that division. It just creates these problems, and I just don't know how. And we're saying he's out to December with a turf toe. We don't know how he's gonna come back. So we gotta hope he's still the same Joe. But there just can never be a good year where everybody's healthy, and there's no slow start. But I don't know. I'm just kind of down on the Bengals organization as a whole.
Yeah, and like I said, I hate the injury because I know that people like you are gonna say, "Oh, y'all are getting lucky in the division." It's like, bro, we can't help this. We didn't do nothing to this. We can't help the Cleveland's a dumpster fire. We can't help the Steelers are the Steelers. Like these are things that are out of our control. We just control what we can control. And we just try to take advantage of all the things that we're provided. And hey, it is what it is. It's like I said, I hate it. I really want Joe Burrow to be in the division because it makes the division better and it makes the whole conference better, right? I think as a whole. So I hate that Joe Burrow injury, but like I said, I think that effectively ends the season for them. So I think it also closes the divisional gap in the divisional race down to us in Pittsburgh in regards to who wins the division this year. Pittsburgh did just lose this past weekend to the Seattle Seahawks 31-17 at home. Had a flurry of mistakes and things like that kind of cost them that game overall. And it was kind of the first time we've seen Aaron Rodgers in that kind of situation. We had a bad game, 18 for 33. He had a touchdown and 2 picks. Offensively, DK Metcalf scored a touchdown, but it just wasn't a good day for them offensively overall. And then on the other side, Seattle was 22 for 33 for Sam Darnold for 295 and 2 touchdowns. He threw 2 picks too, so it really wasn't a crazy day for him either. But his defense kind of was able to get him out of there. Kenneth Walker also did his thing, 13 carries for 105 and a tud. Jackson Smith and Jigba, another great week, 8 catches for 103 yards as well. So I mean, that game for me, like I said, it put another loss on the Steelers, which helps us in the division overall. Once again, it gives us the same record. So yeah, and I'll just speak quick on the Ravens real quick game, and then we can move on to this. I want to talk about that Cardinals and Panthers game. The Ravens did come back, and we got to talk about the Bills and Jets too. The Ravens did come back this week after a crazy comeback win from the Bills last week, and handled business. I mean, completely obliterated the Cleveland Browns, as we should. They were talking crazy in the media this week about they didn't see any challenges on the offense or the defense, and everyone who was talking crazy kind of really got dealt with in this game. Now, I'm not gonna lie, they started off the game really tough, and then that came out. I think they were trying to back up what they said about us and about the game and da 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 da. But as Myles Garrett said, we kind of just chipped away, and then we did whatever we wanted to do after a while, and it got really bad. So Lamar, my MVP, who really he should really be front runner right now. Oh my gosh, 19 for 29, 225 in the air, and 4 touchdowns, no picks. That's crazy stat line. Then Derrick Henry did not have the best day, but he didn't have to. He didn't even need to. They kind of shut him down. 11 carries for 23 yards, 2.1 average per carry. Not good. But he's still Derrick Henry. I got faith in Derrick Henry. But like I said, everybody's went crazy. DeAndre Hopkins had a crazy contested catch. 2 of them, really. One of them got called back, but whatever. Shout out to Taylor Walker, had 2 touchdowns on the day, and Tyler had a touchdown as well. I think that sets us up well as we'll go 1-1 and get ready to push forward to this week. And we'll get into that preview in a minute. Big week 3 matchup at the crib, so we'll get into that here soon. Let's talk about one of your saviors in Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills versus the Jets. They did blow up the Jets this past weekend in New York, 30-10, making them 2-0 in the season. Now Josh Allen went 14 for 25 for a $148, no touchdowns, no picks. Then James Cook, he did go crazy, 21 carries for 132 and 2 tuds for him. And Elijah Moore also scored a touchdown for them as well. You want to talk briefly about, how do you feel about, the Bills as 2-0 right now, assumably leading the conference as well at 2-0. And they have a cupcake schedule. So how do you feel about them kind of going forward? But also, Josh didn't also have the best game either. I mean, these stats are not eye-popping stats for him to have won the way that they did. So tell me what you feel about the Bills and how do you feel about them overall?
Hey, they just beating the people in front of them. Like they can't control the schedule, and they can't control the dysfunction of the AFC East. Like the same thing we said about Baltimore just now. Like got to say it about Josh Allen and the Bills. I think their offense is balanced. I'm still looking for an emergence of a wide receiver 1. Thought that would be Keon Coleman this year, but it seems to be Josh Palmer, which I don't know how far that can take you. So we'll see. Josh Allen's still great, and I honestly think that, like, if we're talking about pure quarterback play, I do think Lamar has had a better year this year than Josh Allen. But in terms of like value to that offense, I just feel like because we haven't seen an emergence of offensive weapons yet in Baltimore and Buffalo's offense, like you still have James Cook, but in terms of elite players, I just still think that Josh Allen is a little bit more valuable right now. And we'll see as the season progresses. Hopefully everybody can stay healthy. But honestly, like, man, I'm gonna say this, but I just don't know how long they're gonna keep Aaron Glenn. Like, I want him to succeed at the Jets, but it's just like they just don't look good. I don't know if it's just the roster, but the same roster we were talking about with Robert Saleh and that elite defense,
Yeah.
like Buffalo did whatever they wanted to. And I think that's the issue. And like Aaron Glenn is a defensive guy coming from the Lions. And the one place you can't lack is defense. So
Defense. Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird in New York right now.
It is. I agree, bro. I don't know how long they're gonna be able to keep this up or this losing streak, and I think it continues. We'll get into that a little bit here soon. So I mean, I don't see the playoffs in their future, unfortunately, for them this year. They're obviously not winning that division. They're just not good enough to do so right now. So I think it'll be very, very, very interesting for them as the season progresses and see, can they turn it around? It's one of those teams like, can they turn it around? Can Justin Fields get right? Can his team get right? I mean, like you said, defensive. I mean, you still got Sauce, you got Quentin Williams, you got all these guys you're paying big money to, and it's like, okay. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if Justin got hurt this past week because Tyrod Taylor wound up coming to play in the game. So it's like, I don't know what's the movement here. I don't know what's kind of the overall gist of this team right now. So it sucks if you're a Jets fan because you expected Justin Fields to come in, you expected to have a new head coach, at least be contender in the division. But at 0-2, it's not looking too good. Not looking too good at all, brother. Last matchup, man, I want to touch on for this week too. I wanted to go over. I knew the 49ers were going to beat the Saints because the Saints are bad. The Saints are terrible. So it didn't surprise me. They had two backups going back and forth. That was whatever for me. Let's talk about this Lions blowout over the Bears. They had a terrible week 1 against the Packers, but came back this weekend, smacked the Bears. 51-20. I mean, 52, excuse me. My bad. I'm going to take a point from y'all. 52-21. Now, we know that the Bears are abysmal. We know this. They're 0-2. And when another team on paper, like Miami, in my personal opinion, they're pretty much the NFC's Miami, essentially. On paper, crazy roster. Receivers, running backs, defense. They just can't get right in Chicago. I don't know what it is. They've had crazy, I said on paper, crazy weapons everywhere for Caleb. He should be succeeding. But he seems to continue to falter each and every week for the past 2 years. He went 19 for 30, 207, and 2 touchdowns and a pick. But it just wasn't enough. They couldn't get anything else going. When your opponent was 52, them stats look terrible. Honestly.
Yeah. I'm looking at their schedule right now, and I don't see a lot of wins. Like they play, and Dallas comes to them next week.
Yeah,
that could easily be a loss.
Yeah.
Do you think they can beat the Raiders at Las Vegas?
I pray so. I pray that you can go on the road. Now, once again, they lost their best defensive corner in Jalen Johnson. I don't know how long he's out for, but I mean, that's a big blow to that secondary. I don't know what else you do. I don't know, Brad. You would think that they can go into the Raiders and win, but we're talking about the same Bears who can't get it right, bro. I don't know.
Right. And then you come off the bye week, and then your first game is Washington. So you could essentially be 0-5 if you slip up versus the Raiders. And I think Caleb, if they go 0-5, I don't think Caleb makes it the whole season as the starter, personally.
I don't even know what their backup is to move him out the way. That's what's crazy. So
Tyson Badgett. Now, but the thing is, hold on. During the offseason, they gave him Tyson Badgett a new contract. And you usually don't give backups a contract like that unless the coach really likes them. So Tyson started before. I don't know. I've seen crazier things, especially with looking at Ben Johnson's face on the sideline every time Caleb makes a mistake. I just don't think Ben Johnson sold on Caleb.
Yeah. I just don't think you can move off of Caleb as a first overall pick for Tyson right now. Even if they go 0-5. I think you just got to ride it out with him and see if you kind of decide something in the offseason. But I just don't know if that's the case. Now, on the other hand, Detroit looked great. I mean, Jared Goff, he has revitalized his career in Detroit. I mean, truly revitalized it. He went 23 for 28 for 334 yards and 5 touchdowns. Jahmyr Gibbs, 12 carries, 94 yards and a touchdown. Montgomery, 11 carries, 57 yards and a touchdown. I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown, 9 catches, 115 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Count them. Jameson Williams, 2 touchdowns, 2 receptions, 108 yards, 2 catches. 2 catches, 108 yards, and a touchdown. I mean, they just, like you said, they just had their way. They had their way in Detroit this past week, bro. So it was a crazy matchup.
Looking at that, do you think that was the Lions' offense, or do you think the Bears' defense just sucks?
I think it's a combination. Because like I said, week 1, that wasn't the case. They had all the same players against the Packers. Yeah. And the Packers was like, nah, this ain't that. This ain't that. This ain't that. Green Bay was like, yeah, nah, this ain't, we're not the same. So I think it's a mixture. I think that the Lions do have a good offense, but it depends on who the defense is as well. So I think the Bears defense is also absolutely abysmal. So I think that played a big part in it as well. So yeah, man, I'm gonna leave that there. Do you want to speak on that Panthers and the Cardinals? No. Okay.
Let's talk a little bit about that Buccaneers Texans game.
All right, let's get into it. I forgot about the Monday night games. So yeah, Bucs and Texans. So let's start here with this. The Bucs were actually favored to lose this game. They were a 2.5 point underdog going into Houston. Now, I picked that plus 2.5 quickly because I was like, yeah, nah. I've seen the Texans play football. I'm not really sold on what I'm seeing, right? So I went ahead and picked that plus 2.5, and it proved to be very, very fruitful because the Buccaneers wound up winning the game 20-19. And it was close. Don't get me wrong, very close game. But when it really counted, you saw who the better team was, right? I think, that last drive with Baker Mayfield leading down the field, Texans were gassed. They couldn't get any stops. They just really were just like discombobulated, I think, at that time and point in time in the game. And you saw it on CJ Stroud's face on the sidelines, like, dang, like we about to lose again. So yeah, man, it really was just a testament to who was the better team at that time, and even in Houston. So
yeah, man, like this game, it made me respect Baker a lot more as a quarterback. Like,
yeah, that's facts.
I think he was a better quarterback that night versus CJ Stroud. I like Tampa Bay's roster, I think, but they didn't even have Chris Godwin, and then you have Mike Evans and then Buka from Ohio State. When Godwin gets back, that offense is going to be dangerous. I text your boys in the chat and told you about Rashad White and Bucky Irvin. Like, they have 2 of everything. And I think those rosters can make a run in the playoffs. Defense still, I think the defense has weapons. So hopefully everybody can gel together and they can make a run because I know they're going to win the division. That's like the biggest
that's a given. Ever. That's a given.
Yeah. But honestly, like, I like the Texans, but the problem is their offensive line and CJ's play recently, it hasn't been elite. And I don't know if they can win playing that way. Like, there was a lot of times where I was like, what is CJ doing? Like that's a throw that I'm used to you making.
Thanks.
Well, is he a sophomore? He's second or third year.
This is third year for CJ.
Third year? Yeah, you can't be making those mistakes, CJ. And then I was telling your boys in the offseason, I'm like, maybe I didn't see what y'all saw, but they didn't draft and they didn't get in the O-lineman in free agency. And then you traded away your best O-lineman in Laramie Tunsil. And I think it's showing because they do not look good at all. And, my Colts prediction is looking truer and truer each day because Texans don't have an easy schedule. So,
yeah. Yeah, definitely agree with you, bro. I said coming to the season, I thought the Texans were going to run through our division and kind of just take the division again. But it's not looking good for them, man. 0-2, O-line does not look any better. CJ Stroud still running for his life. They got the weapons, right? You would think so. I mean, yeah, they're down. They're running back. What's his name? Mixon, Joe Mixon. He's not there. They got Nick Chubb. He's just not the same Nick Chubb anymore. Offensively, also, you got some young guys at that receiver. You still got Nico Collins. Obviously, Tank Dell is not there right now. But it's just hard for them to kind of get things going. Even on the defensive side of the ball, they have a good defense, good young pass rusher with them, Will Anderson and Daniil Hunter. But it just unfortunately has not been enough to kind of get them where they need to be. And like you said, even in the upcoming weeks, man, I'm looking at this schedule and it's like, it ain't sweet for y'all, bro. Like, it's not sweet. I mean, I know I saw the Texans up there in a couple weeks. I mean, yeah, that might be sweet. But, like, I know we played them in a couple weeks too. So it's like, it's just not going to get any easier for them as the season goes on. So the way y'all looking right now versus where they are, unless they sweep y'all, it's not going to be looking good for them to win the division at all.
Absolutely.
And I don't see them sweeping y'all in their current state. So yeah.
Sure. What do you think about that Chargers and Chiefs game? I mean, the Chargers and Raiders game.
It went as expected. I mean, I think the Raiders. I mean, they're just not there yet, bro. I mean, I think we talked about them not being better, but they're just not there yet. They won week 1, yeah, against the Patriots, but the Chargers are just a better team than them, and it's clear. And I think, like I said, the Chargers are shaping up to be the best team in that division right now. The Broncos lost to y'all, so I mean, they're 2-0. They're leading the division. This was a divisional game for them, so I don't. It just the Raiders are still the Raiders, and they're like the Browns of our division. It's like you're cool, but you're still a little bro. Like, and now they got Washington next week. I mean, like that's an L. So I mean, now once again, Jaden Daniels may or may not play, so we don't know yet. Hold 110%. But I think even without Jaden Daniels, I don't know if they have enough to beat the Commanders. So, yeah, that's all I got to say about that game, bro. Honestly.
Yeah.
So before we get into this, go ahead.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, before we get into this week 3 talk, give me your top 5 teams headed into this upcoming week in the league right now. No, it's tough, but
let's see.
You don't have to give them to me in any order. You can just give me a top. Okay.
Yeah. So I'll go Packers 1.
Okay.
I'll go Eagles 2.
Okay.
I don't know because Packers 1, Eagles 2. I'll go Baltimore 3.
Mm-hmm.
I'll put the Bills up there.
Okay.
4 and 5. I mean, honestly, I'll put Tampa Bay.
Okay. It's not a bad list. It's not a bad list at all. I'm gonna go Packers 1, 2. I think they look really good right now as a team. Offensive, defensive side of the ball. I'm gonna go Pack. Let's go. I'm gonna go Baltimore 2. I'm gonna go Buffalo 3, just because they schedule right now. I'm gonna go Bucks 4. I like the way their team looks right now. And I go Philly 5. Philly could easily be 4, honestly, but I think they got something's just a little off in Philly right now. I can't put my finger on it. They're winning. They got the great defense, but offensively also, I got Jalen Hurts on offense and fantasy. He's been putting up no numbers. Him and Chris Jones got into a little shouting match at the end of the game because Chris Jones was like, "Hey, bro, you got to have 120 yards. Like, what are you talking about?" But they're winning, so it's the yards don't really matter, that much as well. But later on in the season, I feel like they may catch up to them. But we'll see. So I'm gonna I think that's my top 5 for the week going into week 3.
Yeah.
But also the Chargers are right there too. They're right there, there. So
the only problem with the Chargers though is I don't understand why they can't get the running game right, because I think even Herbert is leading the team in rushing or like at the top 2, and so I just don't know how sustainable that looks, and their offense doesn't look as well. I think right now I would take Tampa Bay's offense over the Chargers' offense, and to say I just feel like they have players, but I don't know, no weapons have emerged. Like, I mean, Lad McConkey probably, but Najee's been out, and Amari and Hampton, people expect him to take that jump, and he's looking okay. So,
agreed. And that sets us up, bro, for a crazy week 3. And I'm not gonna be on here too long. I'm gonna let you probably finish this up, but I'm gonna go over some big matchups with you, and then I'll let you finish it up here. I'm gonna start with the biggest matchup I think of this week, which I think is gonna be that Monday night game with the Ravens and the Detroit Lions. Both teams coming off crazy wins, crazy blowout wins, both of them. 2 crazy juggernaut offenses, I believe, right now, led by Lamar and Jarrett, respectively. The game will be in Baltimore. The past couple times we faced the Lions, it's been bad for the Lions. It's been blowouts, actually. Last time they came to Baltimore with the same kind of roster, we blew them out pretty bad. It was like 42-0 at one point. So give me your thoughts as we go into week 3 on this matchup, because one team's gonna be 1-2, one team's gonna be 2-1 at the end of this game. And so based upon the offenses and the defenses that you've seen, all the things that you kind of witnessed thus far, give me your thoughts going into this week 3 matchup and what it means, who you think is going to win, and all the good things.
I got Baltimore winning in the blowout. Actually, I think it's going to be more than 2 touchdowns. I just can't unsee the Packers Lions game. I think they struggle with good defenses,
Yeah.
and they haven't had to play a quarterback like Lamar this season. New defense coordinator, of course. Even though they're back healthy, I think that they struggle a lot with pass coverage. Like Terry and Arnold, he's been decent, but I think collectively the Packers were able to go up and down the field on them. And it wasn't even just running. Jordan Love was, throwing dots. And I don't think going into Baltimore that Detroit's going to win this game. And I think the Ravens pull away late just because they got a better roster, in my opinion.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I'm gonna keep it short. I definitely agree. All your statements so far. Lamar has been crazy this year. He actually moved into the highest, I think it was QBR of all time. And so that means he's accurate. That means he plays good and he plays efficient. And I don't think the Lions defense will be able to kind of take that. I think, like you said, the corners have been kind of suspect this year. Our receivers get open, and even if they aren't open, throw up a contested pass to DeAndre Hopkins, and he's going to catch it. So it's like, I think even if they score early on, we'll be able to answer right back, and eventually we're just going to start stonewalling them. In Baltimore, Monday night, all black, it's going to be bad for them, I think. So I'm going to get that game to Baltimore. I do think it'll be much not as close as people think it's going to be. I think it will be kind of bad for them. So, yeah, I'm going to go Baltimore as well. Another big matchup, I think, for this week is going to be that Chargers Broncos. But before we get to that, I actually want to talk about Eagles Rams. Both of these teams are 2-0 as well. That's going to be a 1 o'clock game in Philly, a playoff rematch of the divisional. No, it was the NFC champion. No, it was the division round last year in the snow. I remember that now. So this is a rematch of that game in Philly again. Tell me what are your thoughts going into both these teams are 2-0. Both these teams have kind of been good. Obviously, the first 2 weeks. Who gets their first L this week, man? And tell me why. And give me some context.
I honestly haven't seen much of the Rams play this season, but I will say Philly. I have watched both of their games, and I think they just pull it out. Like the fact that it's in Philly, I think that offensive line will lean on you, and I think if it's even close, I trust Philly's offense a little bit more just because they have weapons not only with Jalen Hurts being able to run the ball, but also with Saquon, and they haven't needed to pass all season, and I don't think the Rams stop that. Rams obviously, still have a good defense. You have Brandon Fish, you have Jared Verse, but I don't know if they're going to be able to compete with the Philly all 4 quarters because at some point it just wears on you. And then the moment you load the box, I got AJ and Devonta on the outside. So it's just kind of death by 1,000 cuts. And I think it's going to be slow pace. And I think the Philly's going to pull it out.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be a close game again because I like that Rams defense. But like you said, you kind of got to pick your poison when you play Philly. And it's hard to do that, I think, on every level when you're playing them. I think the Rams have kind of the best team in the NFC right now to compete with them. So I think it's going to be a good game. I think at home, closing out late, I think Philly gets that late game win for them also, man. Yeah. I'm going to go for one more game before I got to slide. Let's see. Let's pick a good one here. Let's go with let's go Chargers. Yeah. Let's talk about let's talk about the Sunday night game. Chiefs and Giants. 0-2 teams. Somebody got to win. Now we talked about this briefly because Chiefs they really need to win here. But the Giants are not sweet. Like, everybody thinks the Giants are sweet, but crazy defensive line up front, right? Offense, Russ has not been playing terrible, right? Give me your thoughts, man, on this game. It's in New York, Sunday night game. Can the Chiefs come play ball?
Yeah, so I'm looking at the game now. I know the Giants will be coming to play, and they have a great defensive line. But I think the fact that it's the standalone game at 8:20, the Chiefs are going to pull it out. Just because it's prime time, they know everybody watching, and I think the Chiefs and they need this win. If it was one of those 1 o'clock or 4:25 games, I could definitely see an upset. But Chiefs are built for this moment to beat the
Yeah.
Giants, like not the Eagles or any other team in the top five. But I just don't think the Giants offensively. Like now, I will say Malik Neighbors is one of the elites. Like I think he is definitely rising in the wide receiver rankings, but I just don't trust Russ. The last throw that pick he threw, that was horrendous. And I just don't think this age in this long in his career, he should be making those kind of mistakes. I think if it gets ugly quickly, we could see a lot of Jackson Dart. Um, but yeah, I think Chiefs just pull it out late, and I think it kind of gets ugly.
Yeah, I agree, bro. I think it will be much closer than people expect it to be, but I think the late Chiefs do pull it out in prime time. I don't see them overall losing to the Giants. I think early on it may be kind of whatever, but also the Chiefs may also come out with something to prove. You know what I'm saying? People are talking about them crazy and can they get it done? Da 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 da. They may come out with something to prove to it, but I think that they'll wind up ultimately winning the game, either whether it be blowout or a close game. Regardless, I think they wind up winning this game. So I think that'd be a good game for them to kind of come out and go 1-2, and the Giants go into 0-3. Unfortunately for them. So I'm gonna turn it over to you, brother. I gotta get to the office. But yes, sir, man. Appreciate y'all always tapping into the One Shot Podcast. I'll be back soon. Collin, keep it up, brother. Much love.
Good day, bro. Yep. All right, let's keep going with these week 3 matchups. I'm not gonna hold y'all long. So I'm just gonna go quickly over some of these games. So we got Green Bay and Cleveland. I think Green Bay is still on a tear. Cleveland, I think, has given up on the season. I think they had a good roster, and I think that week 1 they were actually they played a close game, and I think now being 0-2, I just don't see them upsetting the Green Bay Packers because Green Bay, I think, on both sides are great. Jordan Love has emerged as one of the top quarterbacks in the league. And then when you look at defensively, I think one of the things we kind of discount with the Cowboys trade is that they're operating on 2 different timelines. So Michael right now is an elite weapon for Green Bay because even though he might not lead the league in sacks or have many sacks this season, he still affects the offense. He's breaking double teams, even breaking triple teams in order to get to the quarterback. And I don't think Joe Flacco, I think he's like 40 or 41, has any athleticism to get past that defense because they're playing fast, they're playing together, both offense and defensively. And shout out to Matt LaFleur, because I think he's definitely one of the most slept on coaches in this league because he is able to galvanize that team, a bunch of young players that are playing selflessly. So I got Green Bay in that matchup. I think one of the most interesting matchups is going to be that 405 game with Denver and LA. So you got LA, who was 2-0. Denver lost to the Colts this past week, but I really think the winner of this game is the favorite to win the division. I think that Los Angeles has a good roster, but like I told John just now, like I struggle seeing them offensively because it just doesn't look dynamic enough in order to beat the top of the creme de la creme. And then on the Broncos side, Broncos definitely have a great roster. They have, well, I won't say great. They have a good roster, and defensively, the boys be flying around. But the question is about Bo Nix, right? Bo Nix had an ugly pick versus the Colts last week, and if Bo Nix continues to make dumb decisions and has costly turnovers late in the game, I think this could really be a tale about whether they go, 9-8 versus going 10-6, 11-5 or 11-6 in order to get into the top of the division to make the playoffs versus sneaking in as a wild card. Because the division is tough, and I think the Chiefs are still there, but I think this is really for the reins. Who's going to be next in terms of dominating or competing in this division as the number 1 seed? New Orleans, Seattle. I think this is an interesting spot for Sam Darnold. Seattle, they don't look great to me. I think that Sam Darnold is okay. He's kind of coming back to average versus that last year with the Minnesota Vikings. And honestly, I think the Steelers should have won that game, barring a couple of dumb decisions offensively with Aaron Rodgers and that kick return, well the kick gaff that they had that Seattle scored on. So both of these teams could have easily been 0-2. And I think the New Orleans Saints are desperate for a win. Let me see what that game is. So I think it's in Seattle. That's the first thing I say. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, it's in Seattle. So I think that Seattle pulls it out late. But it's one of the game to watch because I could see New Orleans, sneaking out with the win. Both teams that they played this year, they at least, competed a little. Even last week, even though San Francisco had a backup quarterback, the game was still came down to the wire. So we'll see. Keep your eyes on that one. San Francisco and Arizona, 2-2-0 teams. Arizona is 2-0. San Francisco is 2-0. San Francisco is still going to be without Brock Purdy. But Mac Jones is decent. He's a competent quarterback. And I think with San Francisco's offense, I've got San Francisco in that matchup, but I could easily see the Arizona Cardinals winning. But I think San Francisco is a better team and has a better coach. And I think that matters when it comes down to Sunday. So I'm gonna go Seattle. I'm gonna go San Francisco with that game. Now the game I did want to touch on before we kind of get out of here is this Dallas and Chicago game. So you heard me talking with John about the Chicago could easily be 0-5, especially if they slip up versus the Raiders. But I think this game at 425 is probably the most important game of Caleb's season. So when we look at the game is in Chicago. We saw week one when Caleb played against JJ McCarthy. Everybody was excited to see Caleb coming out. Excited to see what this Ben Johnson offense will look like. And, you saw the crowd cheering, the crowd roaring, those first couple of drives. And we thought we were going to see, vintage Joe Montana. Like Caleb Williams had a pretty good start to the game, but we know that the first 15 plays are always scripted, right? And it's like once you get hit in the mouth, what does that look like? And so for the next three quarters, Caleb just looked okay. And that offense was sputtering. They had, some costly turnovers. And what happens is when you have JJ McCarthy come in and beat you, everybody was on JJ McCarthy, but when they get beat 22-6 by Atlanta Falcons, you're like, okay, so Caleb lost to this average, below average quarterback. And then, Chicago loses again. And so now they're 0-2. And not only did they lose to the Lions, but they actually got blown out. The Lions put 50 points on them. And some of that was on the Bears defense, but some of that is also on the offense too. And so now with this Cowboys game, we didn't expect the Cowboys to be good. And then when Cowboys were taking the Philadelphia Eagles to the wire and beat the Giants in overtime, we're like, okay, the Cowboys are going to be a decent team. But the problem is, I don't think Chicago is going to buy, Caleb and Ben Johnson going 0-3. And I think that this game could, potentially be a nail biter, but it also could be ugly because, Dak Prescott, he actually looked pretty good versus the Giants. And, if Chicago is out there and stinks up the joint, I think it could get ugly quickly in Chicago. I think that there could be boos all over. And people are like, watch out for Tyson Bagent. Like, I know, when I talked to John, he didn't believe it, but if they go 0-3, I think there could be whispers of Caleb getting benched. And it could be one of those Bryce Young situations last year where he gets benched and eventually comes back. But I just don't think with all of these offseason moves that Ryan Poles made, I don't see Chicago fans being happy if this roster goes 0-3. Because people are, number one, are going to say the quarterback, and number two are going to say the coach. And you just brought in Ben Johnson, so you're not going to get rid of the coach. And so people are going to want changes. And so I definitely could see Chicago benching Caleb Williams if they go 0-3, because if they don't beat the Raiders, I just feel like their schedule looks bleak. I'm going to pull up the schedule real quick so we can kind of go through their games. So looking at their schedules, they play the Cowboys this week, and then next week they are go to Las Vegas, which who knows what can happen at 425. Then they have the bye week. Then they go to Washington, which I think could be a L. I think they beat New Orleans. I don't think they beat Baltimore. Cincinnati, I think they could beat because they have Jake Browning, but we'll see what that offense looks like. So I'll give them the win there. Versus New York, I don't know. Hopefully by that time, everybody is giving up in New York and they could get an easy win. They lost to Minnesota before, and this time it's at Minnesota. I think Minnesota can turn it around, and so they could lose to Minnesota twice. Then you play Pittsburgh, never an easy game. You got to go to Philadelphia. Let's go ahead and count that a loss. And then you have to go to Green Bay, count that a loss. Cleveland, I'll give them a win. Green Bay. I think Green Bay sweeps them this season. Go to San Francisco, and then Detroit comes to them. All could be losses. I think I count like 6 losses right there. And so even if they have 6 losses, they still would at best go 9-8. And so we got to hope that the games that I'm giving them wins, that they can win those games. Because even if they lose in those games, they could easily go, 7-9, and things could get really ugly. So if you're a Bears fan, I think you're kind of weary about this week because this could be one of the wins that transforms your season, where you have the momentum now in order to beat some of those great teams. But you could also go the other direction and spiral, where you lose this game and now the season looks longer than expected, and people are ready to get to the off season more than they're ready to play these games each week. So we'll see. That's one of the games that I'm going to keep my eye on. Let's keep going. So we got Pittsburgh and New England. I think this is another interesting matchup. I'm going to go Pittsburgh. I think Aaron Rodgers and Mike Tomlin should have won that game in Seattle. We should have won the game last week. I don't know if it was in Seattle or in Pittsburgh, but obviously costly mistakes caused them to lose. And so New England is an interesting story because we came into this season expecting New England to be this well-oiled machine, Mike Vrabel, Drake May, and a couple of big offseason moves. Obviously we know about this Stephon Diggs acquire, but even defensively they made a number of free agent signings, and I think Ramondre Stevenson has played well this season. But we're gonna see versus Pittsburgh what New England is made of, because I think coming off of a loss, Mike Tomlin's gonna have those boys, together and organized. And so I don't know what Drake May is. And I think games like this help us to see what Drake May is, whether he is trending towards an elite quarterback, trending towards a Tua average quarterback, or trending towards, the Mac Jones territory where you're okay, but you'll just be a backup in this league long term. And I think this is going to be the Drake May game. I think if the New England can pull it out, then we'll have a different conversation. But with this roster and coach now, you can't say that you have, Gerard Mayo. Now you have a proven coach who proved himself in Tennessee. So we obviously know that the coach is not the issue, and the game is in Foxborough. And so the same thing I just said about Caleb Williams in Chicago, I think people will say in Gillette Stadium with Drake May. Like, if they go out and stink up the joint, we're going to have some questions, because people weren't sold that Pittsburgh is an elite team. But if you go and get beat by them badly, now you're questioning how good are the Patriots really. And I think the same thing will be with Drake May, and how good is he really. So that's all I have on that game. The Colts and Titans, I think the Colts pull it out. Let's see what the game is. So the game is actually in Tennessee. I think this is a tricky game. One of the things I'll say about the Colts is, I love the Colts, but we saw this last season with the New Orleans Saints. And I think one of the reasons why New Orleans sputtered is because, they got too big headed. When Dennis Allen went 2-0, I saw them all dancing in the locker room, and they felt like they were going to be one of the elite teams. And I think the Colts could easily feel that way after beating the Broncos. But it's games like this you still have to win. I had them winning this game before the season, but I think sometimes being in a great position from a place of success is where you could easily play down to your competition. And so I think that we have to put this game away early. I think if we keep it around, Cam Ward has actually, been playing good. Like, even the Broncos game, he was making a lot of great decisions. Obviously, you would hope that the wide receivers could catch the ball. But they've been in a lot of these games. And so I think with Indiana, we have to go in, continue to play our style of offense and not force Daniel Jones to win a game for us. If we can continue to play exactly like we did with the Broncos, I think that we can beat the Titans easily, because I think the Broncos have a much better defense than the Titans. But if we want Daniel Jones to, bring us back in terms of, like, having a big deficit and coming back to win, I just don't think Daniel Jones can do that at this point in his career. But if we can keep it close and if we can blow them out, I think our offense is going to continue to flow like it did in week 1 and week 2. Houston, Jacksonville, another big game. So I at the beginning of the season, you probably could say like, "Oh, this is going to be an easy game for Houston Texans," but I think that we have to be honest about Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence, he's thrown 3 interceptions this season so thus far, and he hasn't looked good at all. And y'all know where I stand on Trevor. I'm not the biggest fan. I think Trevor is an okay quarterback. I think that people are still buying into the Clemson hype, but looking at him, he is just not a transformational player, in my opinion. And to get paid what he gets paid, I think the same conversation we have about Tua is the same conversation we need to have about Trevor Lawrence. And the same thing we can say about CJ Stroud. Like CJ Stroud, we're looking at his history and saying, okay, he should easily win these games. But I did not like what I saw versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And both of these teams are desperate. Who would have thought that these teams would have been fighting for second in this division with a win? But that's where we are now in terms of the AFC South. And so, with the game being in Jacksonville, I think that the Jags are a desperate team, and Houston doesn't want to go 0-3. So, I don't know where I like. This is a hard pick for me. Um, Man, I think I'm gonna go the Houston Texans pulling it out late. Um, but I don't know, man. It's in Jacksonville. Yeah, I'm gonna stay with the Texans as the pick. So let's keep going. We only got a couple of games left. I'm gonna go real quickly over some of these games. Cincinnati, Minnesota. I'm actually going Minnesota with this one. I think Jake Browning kind of comes back to normal. Um, I just don't see it with Cincinnati now that they don't have Joe Burrow. Even though they're 2-0, I just feel like this one of the games the Minnesota Vikings have to have this game. And yeah. All right, so Atlanta, Carolina. Got Atlanta. I'm not spending too much time on that game. I think Carolina is one of the worst teams in this league. A lot of that is, the GM and Dave Canales haven't built a good roster or have developed any of these players. And the jury's out on Bryce. I was a big Bryce fan coming out of Alabama, but just seeing him play, I just don't think that he is the long-term answer for Carolina. Me and John went over the Los Angeles Rams and Philly game, so I'll go to this New York Jets and Tampa Bay game. I think Tampa Bay is on a tear, and I think they go 3-0. There's going to be questions about Aaron Glenn because I think Baker is one of the top 10 quarterbacks, and we could argue, top 6. I won't bother the top 5 because I think Jalen Hurts is right there. You can put Herberts into that conversation, but Baker is right up there with those guys because he's won games, and I'm talking about this season. I'm not talking about all the time. I'm talking about this season. He went into Houston and won that game, and so elite quarterbacks do that. And like I was telling John, like Aaron Glenn's a defensive guy, and if the defense sputters, now you're like, what are you really here for? And everybody's talking about Justin Fields week 1, but I'm not the biggest Justin Fields fan. And I think Tampa Bay could easily run it up on the Jets, and I just think it could get ugly real soon. Washington, Las Vegas. I think Washington wins that game. Um, I know John mentioned something about Jaden Daniels. I haven't seen the news come out yet, but I think Jaden Daniels may play. Um, and so that obviously affects, our prediction. But right as of now, if Jaden Daniels plays, I think Washington wins easily. Green Bay, Cleveland. We talked about that. I still have Green Bay. See if I'm missing any games. So we talked about Kansas City, the New York Giants. Yeah, and I think we covered all of the games. Y'all let me know if I missed a game. But yeah, so I want to wrap it up with this. So we saw this past Monday that Tom Brady was in the booth, and there was a lot of questions whether he was violating the rules being in the Raiders booth. And you could see on Tom Brady's face that he was itching to be down on that field. And I'm not saying that he's gonna, put the helmet on and go back out there as a quarterback, but I definitely think that Tom Brady wants to be more involved in the Raiders' decision making. I think one of the things that I noticed about that game is that Pete Carroll is still a good coach in my opinion. I think he can still galvanize that team, but I think the Raiders have a Chip Kelly problem, and I will give Chip Kelly a little bit of slack because I don't think the Raiders roster is the best. But I honestly think that his job as the Ohio State offensive coordinator kind of fit him well. I don't think he's ever done good in the NFL to a point where he's going to be considered an elite OC and going to get another head coaching job at NFL. I think his sweet spot is that college offensive coordinating position, because the NFL, it comes down to not just the talent on the roster, but it also comes down to the way you're able to scheme people open. And there was none of that versus the Chargers. Now the Chargers are an elite defense, but I think in that division you're gonna see a bunch of elite defenses. I think the Chiefs still have an elite defense. You have the Broncos who have an elite defense, and you saw what they did versus the Chargers. And I think, because of that, we've been saying that the Raiders would come in fourth in their division. But we know Tom. Everybody, every football fan knows Tom Brady, and we all know that Tom Brady is addicted to winning. And I think that the mediocrity that the Raiders have displayed thus far, and what I see their future outlook being this season, I just don't know how well that's going to be received by Tom Brady. And now, being a minority owner, I could see decisions happen early, even within the season. And I don't think it's like, oh, they're going to fire Pete Carroll. But I think some of those decisions, like Chip Kelly, some of those decisions, like the defense coordinator, I think could easily change because Tom Brady has a bigger hand on that organization than expected. Um, and it's gonna be an interesting tale because I think that's kind of goes hand in hand with the Colts. We saw that the owner of the Colts, Jim Irsay's daughter, wants to be more involved in the Colts decision making, and so she has her headset on the sidelines. And I don't think there's a problem with it, but the problem comes when the owner wants to meddle with the team during the season. And so, where I think that from the Colts perspective, her involvement is not being clearly, it hasn't been detrimental to our winning. I think people like Tom who are addicted to winning, it could go one or two ways. Like you could succeed and be like your Jeffrey Lurie's and Howard Roseman's with the Philadelphia Eagles, but it could also sputter and you could be like Dave Tepper at the Carolina Panthers, where the owner's so involved that it's messing up the operations that Pete is trying to build. So just keep your eyes out on that. When I saw it, I was like, okay, yeah, Tom's not happy, and I can understand why. But I wonder, because he has the power now to make decisions quickly and rapidly, if he starts to meddle too much, and how is that going to affect the Raiders in terms of their long-term outlook, versus the short term. So yeah, I think it's been definitely a good season thus far. I think the surprise has obviously been the Colts. But if you watched any of our other episodes, that wasn't a big surprise for me. But I think the Colts continue to, make a lot of heads turn. And I think we're slowly building something that's special. I think we have a lot of young guys, and even with Tyler Warren, I think that, I could definitely see him playing for 15, 16 seasons. He's just a football kind of guy. And I think, obviously, with the Chiefs, people were surprised that they went 0-2. And I mean, when you just look at their offseason moves, like nobody expected the Worthy injury. But none of this is totally surprising. I thought that they would beat the Chargers. I had them winning. Um, with the Eagles, I think the Eagles are just a juggernaut. I think that they have, embarrassment of riches. Um, and I just feel like they weren't ever going to win that game, in my opinion. Even if Travis Kelsey catches that touchdown, I still had the Eagles pulling out late. Um, and I know everybody's probably going to say that Green Bay is the biggest surprise of the season, but it's like, and I had Green Bay winning the division. If you go to look back at the previous episodes, even without Micah, because I think consistency matters, and consistency is what the Green Bay Packers have displayed, for a number of seasons. Um, and obviously, we'll see how the Lions look. We'll see, how the Chicago Bears and the Minnesota Vikings look. But I think Green Bay is going to dominate that division for the foreseeable future, in my opinion. I think the Lions are close second, but their Super Bowl window, championship window, I think is closing. And I wanted to say it closed when Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn left, but we'll see, because people are talking about them putting 50 on the Bears. I like the Bears, so I got to see them do that versus an elite team and say that their Super Bowl window is still open. So, y'all let me know what y'all think about Week 3. You tell me, comment your team, and then comment how they're going to do this season. And comment if you think that me, John, or Hundo were bogus about our takes, and we promise to be in those DMs and comments to respond. And you better come with facts, because if you don't come with facts, we're going to bring the stats to you so that we can show you how bogus you are. But we're blessed to continue to do this. We'll be on next week. I think John and Hundo are recording some W content. We see those playoffs going. I think Seattle just beat the Aces last night. That's crazy. I don't know if they're gonna upset them or not, so we'll see. But we're thankful for another episode. This is week 2. We're getting ready for week 3 this upcoming week. Y'all stay tuned. We have more content coming your way. Peace.